here live on YouTube and LinkedIn at the Motivators Table. Yes, we got a huge guest today, but let me thank my sponsors. Thank you, Los Angeles Tribune, for giving me the opportunity to put my gift around the world globally. Thank you to all my
Amen.
sponsors. Thank you to the Riverside platform for allowing me to be on here and do 100 episodes of 100 real people, 100 stories, 100 people that need motivation. We about to put this out here. We got a huge guest today. We want to make sure we understand. Get your highlighters, get your pens ready, get your hearts ready. We got Miss Nurse Nicole on the stage. What's going on? How you doing?
Babe, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing? It's good to see you again.
I know it's been a while. It's been almost a year, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Time
definitely,
flies.
definitely, definitely. But we've been locked in since then, and I appreciate you just
Amen.
always supporting me and looking at my stories and my pictures and uplifting me and what I'm saying, pushing me in the right direction. So I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you
Thank you for
for putting yourself out there. We
yeah,
need it.
no, yeah, it's definitely needed from our side, and I brought you to the motivators table because I'm inspired, and I want you to understand that a lot of people do not inspire me, but you've been inspiring me since day one, and I want everybody to hear your story. You know what I'm saying? This is a platform of no judgment, so we want to make sure we understand this is where do the motivators go to get motivated? They come to the motivators table. So
Amen.
let's tell the people who you are and where you from.
Yes, sir. So, again, glad for the opportunity. What an honor. My name is Nicole. I go by Nurse Nicole. I am a Central Florida registered nurse who has practiced in the Central Florida area as an acute care bedside nurse for 20 years now. I predominantly work in the cardiac field of nursing, and I have been blessed to cover all fields in the cardiac field. It can span from heart failure to a heart transplant nurse, open heart. I've worked as an air medical escort, a sales rep, and currently run a very large chest pain program in the area that I work in and take in a lot of patients that are having chest pain and or heart attacks, educating our communities. And then when I'm not working and being a mom and a wife, I use my spare time to work on a local and state level in the state of Florida where I promote informed consent, bodily sovereignty, and the right to choose. I also work with the vaccine injured. I was a heart transplant nurse during the pandemic, and I came forward as a registered nurse to tell anyone who would listen at that point what I was seeing with those patients that were receiving the deadly hospital protocols, in addition to the vaccine, the COVID 19 vaccine. Heart transplant patients at that time were the most vulnerable patients, and they were some of the first ones to get it. And when I saw what was happening, it obviously raised alarms. We were trying to get the word out, and there was a lot of coercion, segregation, being gaslit. And at that time, I said, you know what, it's time to come forward and try to get the word out. And so I spoke in front of our local and state government and our Florida legislators to tell them what I was seeing. And 5, 6 years later, I'm doing the same thing, but now representing working with the vaccine injured from COVID 19 vaccines and childhood vaccines. And I am on Instagram at hold underscore the line CLNC or on Twitter at Hennessy03.
Okay, thank you. Now you have it, motivators. You know exactly who she is. You can look her up while we talk. You could chime in live on LinkedIn, live on YouTube. So we're gonna dig deep. We're gonna go deep right now. We're gonna say, Miss Nicole, how was you as a child, your inner child?
Well, I mean, I am a Taurus. I am full of energy. I am stubborn. I wear my heart on my sleeve. And the big thing for me as a child was trying to feel as if I could make others feel like they wanted to be around others, right? I feel like being uplifting and really trying to make a change in people's life, even at a young age, was something that I found myself doing. Sometimes the upbringing wasn't as good, and so that probably propelled me more to want to be someone who was there for others. And so I'm an empath. I'm someone who sees and feels a lot of things before maybe somebody says it, and my goal is to always represent the underdog. It's always to try to uplift individuals and make sure they know that they're not alone. And that transpired into when I went back to school and decided to be a nurse. And I have used that same energy to make sure that people feel seen and heard and that our vulnerable populations are represented in a way as I'm an advocate for the medical side of it. And so, yeah, as a child, it was just really trying to uplift others and see people for who they were and really try to continue to make people feel seen and loved.
I like that. At a young child, that's what you felt, and that was your character, and that's
Amen.
what I'm trying to go for. A lot of people, they out here, they really don't have a character. They don't understand even what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? Can we speak on that?
Amen. Well, I think there's some reasons for that. We have a culture, society, especially in America, where we are, further advancing the narrative, where if you aren't some sort of influencer or you're not putting yourself out there to get the clicks and the likes, that, there's no meaning to life. But outside of that, it's really important that people understand that we all have a purpose. God called me when this was all going down during the pandemic, and to this day, I say that I don't know why I was chosen in that aspect. But I think people channel their energy sometimes in ways that are not useful, and unfortunately, they are not focusing on what's really important. And at the end of the day, life is too short, and we want to be able to use our resources and our gifts from God for good. And some people are very misguided because of the way society makes people feel that if you don't look a certain way, talk a certain way, say certain things when it comes to what's popular, that you are not relevant or that you're not going to be liked. And I constantly push the envelope. I speak from the heart. No one tells me what to say or how to act. I am not bought and paid. I make sure that we're very clear on how I'm representing certain things, because people in our communities need to know the truth. And unfortunately, a lot of people are blinded or jaded when it comes to doing the right thing. And I will not sell my soul to do that no matter what. And I wish more people understood that you can be brave and do the right thing. You don't have to follow the norm.
I love that. I love how you broke that down. And I want you guys to pay attention, motivators. This is why we bring these people to the motivators table, because they understand the analytics of everything. How you can't fake frequency. You
Right.
can't. And I keep telling people that, like, you can pick up something that you want to do, but did God bless you with that? Did God give you that? And a lot of people are out here doing things that God never told you to do. That's
Amen.
why it's corrupting the business. That's why it's corrupting the algorithm and everything, because we're forcing something that never God never told you to open that gift. That ain't
Right.
yours. That's somebody else's. So I had to learn
Amen.
that the hard way, and things that I had to do. And I would say your gift and your passion is totally two different things.
Yes, sir.
Totally two
Agreed.
different things. You know what I'm saying? My
Agreed.
passion is tactics and what I did in the military and protection and my weapons and martial arts. That's my passion. I love doing it. I'm always incorporate that. But my gift is speaking and touching someone and
Amen.
impacting them. And that's exactly what she was doing. Um, Tell me how you was as a high school kid growing up.
Well, man, high school was some of the best years of my life, but it was really hard to navigate because I think you're really still trying to figure out who you are and where you want to go, because at that point you're kind of transitioning into adulthood. And, back then when I was in high school, we were in different times and it seemed much more simpler. I feel like we got along better when it came to certain things as a collective, and I feel like I was really blessed with the opportunities that I had. I had friends from all walks of life, and we just accepted one another for who we are. We met each other where we were at that point. And obviously, I wasn't as awake as what I like to call it. So that could be partially that as well. But, very driven. It was definitely important to me that I became something in life because, again, growing up, I always wanted to make people feel different and more positive. And I did have a good upbringing, but there was a lot of things that I wish somebody would have been there for me and handled it in a way to protect me from certain things, and that didn't always happen. And so, growing into a young adult and being in high school and then knowing what was coming after, it really was a driving force to push myself to be better, really do good in school. I was in a lot of extracurricular activities. I was very popular, but again, it was just more or less that community and being able to be with our friends and really just enjoy life. And I was very grateful for all the things that I've gone through then, but it really did shape me into who I was as a young adult because, at that point we were hitting the ground running. So it was a good time.
I love that. I love the fact that you explained it like that. And a lot of us people don't understand that in high school. That's a large part of how you're shaped and what you learn and what you take from it and what
Yes.
you put in your rucksack in your bag. You know what I'm saying? So you becoming a teenager, you becoming a young adult. You're seeing things. Your influence heavy. You have a voice. All these things that goes on in high school that I saw growing up in California that made me who I am today, and I still hold on to that. So at the end of the day, that's what we want to talk about motivators on this platform is understanding that, and that's why we brought Nurse Nicole on. So Nurse Nicole, let me know what prompts you to want to be a nurse.
Oh yeah. So basically, at that point, I really wanted to be a pediatrician. I always said from a young age, my parents would always tell me, like, you always wanted to be a doctor. And I thought that was so funny because now in the climate that I'm in, being a pediatrician probably would have been the worst thing because of how the system works. And we can get to that. But I definitely again wanted to help people and be there for individuals, help them in their worst times, make sure that people had an advocate and different things that they felt again seen and heard. There's so many people, our mental health in this climate and even back then was so broken, and so many people just had no one to talk to advocate for. There are a lot of things going on that people don't understand about their bodies, or just the basics of understanding what rights that they have, and understanding that it's not a one size fits all, whatever that may be. And ultimately, being a nurse is the person that stands between you and the grave. I was fortunate enough to always be in the hospital setting and go to acute care. So I was always involved in really sick patients, really sick cases, and people that really relied on someone who was not only competent, but educated, empathetic, and really took a stance for no BS. Because when you're a nurse, you have a ton of things that you're responsible for, a lot of liability, and it goes from a mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical aspect. As nurses, we go through all of these things to try to make sure that not only are we exercising the patient's rights, we're keeping them safe, we're making sure that no errors happen to them. And so being a nurse at this point, it's really been a calling. I'm so blessed that I have been able to not only get into it but stick with it, because so many have left. And I really want people to know that I know it's a hard landscape right now because there's been so many things to make people feel nurses are not always trustworthy, especially since the pandemic, and also with the recent events of certain healthcare professionals being highlighted in the media that have said some really horrible things. Those are not the norm. They are a minority, and nurses in general are healers. They're advocates. They're empaths, and they want to do the right thing. And so that has always been something that I knew I wanted to be. And I've been fortunate enough to do different things with that and come a long way with my impact on my community, because I've had people write letters. I've had people come see me after they were healed. I've had all kinds of things happen to remind me that this is exactly where I need to be.
Wow, I love that how you put that, and that's exactly where you need to be at. When I met you, that's who you were at your core. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You a healer, and where do the healers go get healed? Where do they go?
Well, that's a different story for some people. Some people, especially since the pandemic, will say get out of Western medicine. They'll say it's not safe. Don't trust these individuals. Rightfully so for a lot of reasons. But I will tell you, if all of us that cared left, where would those people go that needed people that actually cared? Like, what happens when you lose all of those individuals that at one point really did advocate? And so Western medicine has its place, I would say, more for emergent care, things that are life or death, catastrophic. Some people will say healing is, alternative medicine, or going to seek, chiropractors and, guided imagery, acupuncture. I don't believe there's right or wrong. I also believe, though, that a lot of this is spiritual. We're in a spiritual warfare right now, and we have been, and it's absolutely devastating where this is going. But I really do feel that if you're able to heal your mind and how you think, what got me through the pandemic when I was receiving death threats for coming forward and being coerced and being, bullied and all this other stuff, was my faith. That was part of my healing, because it was so traumatic. I talk about it openly. I have a form of PTSD from it. I have a form of survivor's guilt because there were people that didn't make it, and I don't know why I did. I was never vaccinated for it. I was in the faces of people who were really sick, and for some reason, God spared me. So, when we talk about healing, it's really a journey for individuals, and it doesn't always look the same. And I just hope that people are willing to navigate that and to know that it doesn't have to be a one size. It can be Western, it can be alternative, it could be, the spiritual journey. Sometimes you need all three, and that's okay because people like to be put in a box, right? We like to put people in boxes, and when we can't do that, then people feel like something may not be right.
Right, right. And I love how you said that because that's how society is right now. And, you know, people don't understand the algorithms and stuff that people follow on the internet. God gave us our own internal algorithm. So if you stick to your plan and what God gave you, you won't be overlapping sectors with anybody else. You'll
Right.
just be staying in your lane and doing what you have to do. Like, I don't worry about the next person. Yeah, I see people doing nice things and good things, and I just get inspired to keep going because I'm on a mission and I'm serving this way. I'm using my voice. I don't want to leave this earth. And God asked me, why didn't I use the gift that He gave me?
Amen.
So that's why I do what I do. And I'm so
Yes.
passionate, and I don't care how it looks to certain people. This is what it is. This is what I saw growing up, and I ran from it for a while. You know what I'm saying? And I see that you're embracing it. And I didn't never know that story that you got ridiculed during COVID because it's crazy because when I went bankrupt, that's what happened to me. They made fun of me. I brought 400 people on to my company, and when I went bankrupt, I was a laughing stock. And it did something to me for my suicide, for my mentor and my suicide ideation and all that stuff. I had to regroup. It was hard for me because I know I did what I needed to do to try to help people out, and still, certain people only run with a certain narrative, and that's unfair.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But when I hear that story, when you say that you went bankrupt, you know what that means to me? That you tried, that you showed up for something, that you
Yes.
gave it your all, and even when it may not be something that you're sure of, you took a step that a lot of people would not do. And
Right.
I think that's really important that people understand who you surround yourself with is literally what will make or break you. To have
Exactly.
people around you that don't support you or that are not able to outwardly be happy for you or want to challenge you to be a better person, those are not your people. And when you're low, coming in and try to kick you even lower, that speaks volumes. And I just say to that, believe people when they show you who they are the first time.
Right. You got to. You got to meet people where they are because some of these people are coming in your life and they want to steal your whole recipe of
Ooh,
what you're doing.
yes.
And I've
Amen.
been like recently that happened to me a couple of times in the last like 6 months, and it's like wow. And I still have a good heart. I got a book coming out, "A Good Heart Don't Pay Bills," and I still fell victim to helping other people. And when I get them to where they think that they're at their most highest, they betray me or they do something to be like you didn't do that yourself. I put all that energy into you, but I
Mm-hmm.
got it though because it's giving me more to talk about and also more to understand. Like, you know what, Jr., this ain't gonna never stop until you get a hold on it. You know what I'm saying? And my heart is the worst thing that can happen to me and the best
Ooh,
thing for me. You know what I'm
same,
saying?
same. I mean, I've had people do the same thing, right? I mean, they've come at it with, jealousy or hatred, or, I mean, I'm telling you, when I don't care about anything that is remotely outside of what my calling is, I can't speak it enough. I mean, and I'm the type of person, for some individuals, like you could stab me in the back and I'm going to look at you and ask you, what did I do wrong? Like, it's one of those things where, like you said, your heart can be, it can go both ways. It can be something that really can harden you depending on the situation. But I always try to put my situation or myself into what this person may be going through. That's part of my gift, is trying to meet somebody where they're at and understand why something is happening. And there's been a lot of really what we call difficult patients that I have been given in my past, where people are just not able to resonate with those individuals. They're not able to get through to them, and I can walk in that room and sit down with them and just meet them at eye level, and I can see them for who they are, and we have the conversation. And it doesn't mean that I agree, doesn't mean that they agree with me, but it's forming a mutual respect to understand where we are with one another, and understanding that, again, sometimes when you give, people are going to take and take, and that is a flaw that I have as well. But God knows where my heart is, and it's important we don't lose that, because there's so many people that have been hurt and so many that are unhealed, and I'm still healing, so I can't say that I'm 100%, but that they shut everything out. And I think that's why we are the way we are in society now, because people just don't trust, they don't love. And like you said, they don't want to try because there's people waiting on the other end, waiting for your downfall.
Right.
And they're just not strong enough at that time to stand up to it. And, it's just that my position is keep going no matter what. God knows, where I'm at with that. And I've asked him sometimes, like, listen, I'm done. I want to tap out. Like, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
Right.
And for some reason, he comes in. He's like, not today, sis. You're
Yeah.
not done. Like, we got to keep going. Get up, keep moving. And I'm like, all right. So here we are.
Where are you going? Where are you going? And I love that
Mm-hmm.
too because, you know, I wouldn't have it no other way. I thank God for all the trials and tribulations that I've been through because it put me at this moment at this particular time.
Amen.
And there's a time and place for everything, God says. And I know that I'm on the right path because this is harvest season. Everything we've been planting for years and years and telling somebody, I'm coming, I'm coming. You see my work. Don't act like you don't see it. And now I'm here. Now I'm signed. Now I wake up in January 2025. I'm
Mm-hmm.
top 50 motivational speakers in the world. And I look at people, I said, I told you. And whatever you try to do, whatever you try to stop, it ain't gonna happen. And that's why I
No.
wanted to have you on because you're a go getter. You've been going hard since the moment I met you. You know what I'm saying?
Amen. Yeah,
So
I
we,
mean, we just don't have any other way, right? I mean, in my particular situation, it doesn't mean that I'm better because it's not. It's literally, I watched what happened to innocent people. There's people that are permanently harmed, disabled. There are people that no longer walk this earth because of the corruption of what happened. And I saw this happen in front of me in real time. When I tell you it is the craziest experience to see something and go through it and then hear the media and see social media and see all these things that were being pumped out that were not truthful, and then try to do the right thing and think that you're doing the right thing by coming forward. There is no other way. So for me, it's like there is a mission for all of us, there's a purpose, and this is mine. And we just have to get up in the morning and do the best we can. And I could not be more proud of you because I know how easy it could have been to take the easy way out. And I don't say like easy as in, it's never easy, but take a different route. Let me rephrase that. Take a different route that isn't necessarily one that keeps you pushing all the time, because like most people don't understand, this is sometimes the most isolating, sad, difficult place to be in when you feel alone and you don't feel like you have support and you don't feel like you have people that understand you because you're on a different journey, because you care and love something so much and have such a fire in you that there is nothing that can stop you from getting to that point. And how
hmm
other people may not be able to resonate with you, and they will tell you no, you can't do it, you're not going to make it, it's whatever the case may be. And when you hear that all the time, most people just tap out. And to know that you didn't, and you've overcome what you have, is a testimony, and that is exactly what God called you for. So I'm just very proud of you.
I appreciate you and thank you for just
You're
recognizing that
welcome.
because it does take a lot of work. But guess what? I wake up every day ready to get to it because I'm happy what I'm doing and I'm blessed. And people see from the outside, they see looking on the outside, looking in like, oh, he does this, he does this, he all this, but they don't know that I live a real life. That my
Amen.
nephew is still locked up with 80 years in prison and all these things I go through and 25 guys lost in combat and their families and me going through my own PTSD and TBI and sometimes I just don't feel like it. But God was like, hey, this is where you show up. This is the season when you show up. And people don't know my podcasting and my speaking and all that. That was my therapy to heal me. It continues to. When I get
Yes.
anxiety, when I get depression, I told myself I was depressed when the year first started, and God was like, do 100 episodes. I'm like, well, but God, they told me only to turn in 10 to 12 every season. It was like God was like, interview 100 people in this very room. You're going to become the multimillionaire that you talked about, not because it's about money, because the work that you continue to put in. And I said, okay, I'm listening, God, and I'm doing it. And I went back and started grabbing the people that inspire me, like yourself. Let's talk about the journey you've been on. Let's talk about things that you've been going on with the controversy and everything like that. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, outside of what I do every day in work, which is its own struggle because healthcare is extremely broken, as most of us know, and constantly showing up to a system that is set up to make you fail. It's really important that there's people that are still out there that care and want to do the right thing. And nowadays, it doesn't always seem like that happens. So even in healthcare, it's a real struggle to show up sometimes, put one foot in front of the other, and know you're going to go up against the Goliath. Well, then then to add the madness to it, when I'm not at work, now I'm fighting this controversy and the corruption when it comes to the legalities and medical freedom. So, the those that may not know, we had our state surgeon general and Dr. And our governor Ron DeSantis, excuse me, on September 3rd of 2025 come out and make a public announcement that Florida was going to end all vaccine mandates. And that spread like wildfire. There's been press, media, all the things to say that Florida is free and that we have no mandates. And unfortunately, this two-step process that they were hoping to accomplish has only partially started with one, and that is the Department of Health honoring 4 vaccinations that they hope to, at the hand of the state surgeon general, Dr. Joseph Ladapo, remove when it comes to school requirements. And those 4 vaccinations are Hep B, Hib, pneumococcal, and varicella or chickenpox. And the second half of that was going to be an end all mandates bill that we were promised to come forward in legislation in 2026. And unfortunately, that time came. We had 2 bills, SB 1756 by Senator Yarborough and HB 917 by our House Representative Holcomb, Jeff Holcomb, come, and none of the verbiage for end all vaccine mandates was in those bills. So, what I'm saying to you is that the end all vaccine mandates is not happening. It is not in the works, and it is not something that we are most likely going to see this session, and something that a lot of people need to hear what I just said. The government came out and said one thing, and currently we are in a state where it is not going to happen. We have things moving very quickly, and so our current fight is trying to make sure that any inappropriate amendments do not get added to these bills that already are a little bit of a disappointment. Although they do have a handful of things that people may argue, I am not someone to promote accepting breadcrumbs. When you promise someone something, that should be in full. Uh, your word should mean everything when you're making a deal and explaining something to someone, and to know that that has not happened in the free state of Florida. Speaking directly to our governor, Ron DeSantis, it's really disappointing because not only are your healthcare freedom warriors, your advocates, all these individuals who have been harmed by vaccines, not just the COVID-19 vaccine, but also childhood vaccines, who are left permanently harmed and disabled and or no longer with us. What message does that send to those individuals? The
Mm.
other the other side to this is that, well, if you become a state that ends all vaccine mandates, what kind of public health crisis could you be subjecting the state of Florida, your vulnerable populations, if you will? And to that argument, currently from 2024 data, 88.5% of children are vaccinated in the state of Florida. So to say that we have an enormous amount that are not, for whatever reason, is inappropriate. And to say that our vulnerable populations can only be protected by everyone getting vaccinated is also a farce, because we all know that they don't stop transmission and they don't stop from, people necessarily dying from the disease. We have treatment. We're not a third world country. So our current fight is this right now. Prior to that, and still to this day, I was coming forward as a nurse to discuss the unconstitutional vaccine mandates. I still fight that because in the state of Florida as a nurse, I'm still subjected to vaccines and different things in order to work. We do have exemptions, but they can be very difficult as there's loopholes in the law for medical and religious exemptions for adults. As children, it is very important that your listeners know you have every right to exempt your child from any vaccine anywhere you go, with one exception. Any Catholic schools can actually deny a religious exemption due to a clause in the law currently, but every other Floridian has the opportunity to exempt their child, whether it be medical or religiously, from vaccines up into the age of 18. I cannot tell you how many times people DM me saying that they were told there was no choice and they were forced to get their child vaccinated in order to attend school, to go to college, etc. In the state of Florida, that does not exist if you exercise your right to the exemption. So I was fighting that prior to this, and also Cody's Law, which is a bill proposal to address that vaccine injuries exist and to use programs like Medicare and Medicaid to get them help, because right now there's no help for them. And when we have a society that's sick and continues to get worse because they can't find treatment, that creates a burden on the system with more sick and disabled people who are taken out of the workforce and require a lot of resources that a lot of people don't want to pay for. So it's a multitude of things that we've been working on leading us up to why it's so important that you don't mass vaccinate, because when we did that during the pandemic, we now have all these people that are harmed and or no longer with us. And where there is risk, there must be choice.
Right.
Medicine is not a one size fits all. So this is why we fight for all of these things, and why people ask, why are you pushing end all vaccine mandates? Why is this such a big deal? Why are you trying to harm everyone else? When we're not doing that, we're trying to give people a choice what's best for them and between their provider, and
Mhm.
be able to make an informed decision. Because at the end of the day, when you inject or get the injection, not a single soul is liable because of the PrEP Act and or the 1986 Act that was implemented to say vaccine manufacturers are the only ones, when it comes to product liability, that are shielded with 100% protection.
Mm.
Meaning the second you get vaccinated and something happens, you have no one that you can go to sue for liability, with the exception of the federal government. And I can promise you that is not a task that anyone is typically successful in. And so most of these patients are left without. So those are the things that I fight for.
I love that. And tell the motivators here at the motivators table and everybody that's listening, why are you so passionate about, you know what I'm saying, pushing this? Because you got to have a type of passion to push this and belief. What happened?
Well, I mean, I had a brother who was probably injured by the MMR vaccine. He received his 2 year old shots, and from that point, he completely changed. He is now profoundly autistic. He will require care until he, is no longer. And it's heartbreaking to know that he was born healthy and there was absolutely nothing going on with him, until he received those vaccines. And the sad part is that people will say that we're anti-vax, anti-science. Well, when you're vaccine injured, you weren't anti-vaccine. You actually got it, and you unfortunately were, a product of something that wasn't safe or clearly effective, and you became harmed because of it.
Right.
You will learn that they will tell you, they meaning the powers that be, that they can list anything off to say what could be the problem, what could have caused this person's issue. But the second you say a vaccine, they immediately discredit you, shut you down, say you're not correct, anti-vax, anti-science. My drive is to show that there are people who walk amongst us who thought they were doing the right thing because they were told to roll up their sleeve and be a productive member of society and be a team player like they told me, and just get the COVID-19 vaccine, just get the Tdap, just get this. Help make sure that everyone else around you is safe. That's what they're told. You're doing this to protect others, to make sure that we don't harm anybody. And then when something happens, which a fair amount of time it does, as evidenced by we have the highest risk of autism, asthma, eczema, neurological issues, GI issues, you name it, our children are sicker than ever. And to say that it's strictly from a vaccine would be false. We have things in our air, our food, our water, our soil. No one's discrediting that. But when you consistently push vaccines at the level that they do, when you go from only requiring 8 vaccines, 20 plus years ago, to now, if you follow the schedule until it was recently changed by RFK Jr., a child from birth to 18 would have received 72 vaccines by the time they were 18. What is the risk versus benefit? At what point in 2026 does it make sense for a 1 hour old to receive a hepatitis B vaccine that's typically given to individuals who are positive for Hep B due to promiscuous sex, IV drug use, etc.? Why are we giving that to a 1 month, or excuse me, 1 hour old baby when we test mothers for hepatitis B, and if they're negative, what is the risk? People don't ask questions. They are too trustworthy. And someone who's been in this industry, you must know that you have to question everything and you are accountable for your health and you must request and get informed consent, and 9 times out of 10 you don't get the full story. So this is why I have so much passion, because if we're all seeing a change in how we are mental health wise, etc., what is the root cause and why is no one talking about this? And I have the privilege to work with individuals who have it documented over and over again that they were healthy until they weren't. And
Right.
the only change in this particular situation was these vaccines that they received. And that needs to be pushed. We need to keep pushing so that more people don't end up harmed or no longer with us.
Right, right. I love how you explained that, and that's what it is. You know, you just broke it down. And motivators, people that's listening, everybody that's live, she's breaking it down for you. This is the reason why she's so passionate. This is the reason why she cared. This is the reason why she started to do what she do. So we appreciate you for just telling that story.
Thank
Do you
you.
want to leave us with a story how you was able to get in front of your situation, your ugly, I say your ugly, your story. So let's talk about that. You got about 5 minutes just to tell my community how you was able to get in front of your ugly, tell your story, and magnify that to help somebody else.
Well, I mean, I'm still a work in progress. Every day there's more growth and healing, right? And there's a lot of things that happen that, I think is par for the course. So at this point, I would say when I have the individuals come to me and tell me, thank you for taking the time, thank you for listening to me, thank you for motivating me, thank you for seeing me when no one did. Thank you for showing up every day, even when I know it's hard, even when you share your journey, what it's like to have these mental health issues because of what you've been through. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being someone who is not judgmental, that I can come to for anything, and you speak the truth and you speak it in love, even if it's tough love. And I think for me, it's just the continuous opportunity to be around individuals that are seeing me for who I am and know that it's okay to struggle, but there's ways to pull yourself out of it, and there's a lot of good in this world. And I've had really amazing patients that have come back to see me and thank me. And again, I have people that will message me that I'm praying for you, please know that I think about you and I keep you in my prayers. And to me, I think that's one of the most kind things to do for someone, to have that kind of love for a stranger, to be able to put yourself out there and show them how much you appreciate them. So for me, that's really my driving force. When it gets really tough and it gets really isolating and lonely and sad, that we only get one chance at this. Sometimes people may argue and say you might have another chance, but life is really short and we don't know when we're going to leave this earth. And so we want to make sure that we use our gifts and talents for good. And I just consistently show up. People, I'm relentless. People just say, I don't know how you do it. I don't know why you're not getting paid for any of this. You're not, and I'm not. And that's not about the money. It's not about the followers. It's not about any of it. It's what can I do as a human being to impact overall those that I am around and reach far beyond that, to make our lives better, not only for my children, but your children. And so just showing up and being surrounded by people who see me for who I am, that is how I keep going every day. And my support from my amazing husband and just the beautiful life that we've created.
I love that. Shout out to your husband and your kids and your family. Can you talk about your support system real quick?
Yeah, I mean, I am married for, well, it's 15 years almost. We've been together 20. We've been through a lot. He is one of my greatest supporters. I don't show him often, or my children, because unfortunately, at one point, there was a lot of hate and inappropriate threats thrown my way. But he has stood by my side. He has been there to support me so I could go to events. I can speak in front of people. He is always, my ride or die and giving it to me exactly how I need to hear it, because some people, like you said, they're not real, and he's just always been extremely supportive. My children have seen their mother show up when it's really hard. They've seen me cry, they've seen me smile. They know that mommy goes out there and we fight for people that may not be able to use their voice. I always say we're giving a voice to the voiceless, and they know that we work really hard for everything that we have. And at the end of the day, like, family is everything, as is faith, and trying to stay ahead of a lot of the evil that we see, but always trying to come out on top, knowing that this is where we need to be. And they've just been really supportive, and I'm just very grateful.
I love that. I love that. And thank you for just telling your story and then talking about your support system, because a lot of people don't mention a support system and how hard it is, not even for you, but for your support system. I know when I was suffering with PTSD and TBI, my kids went through the same thing. And I didn't even know why they was having behavior problems, but it
Yeah.
was they didn't understand daddy. And I would come back every year and introduce myself to them and try to build situations with them, but it was so hard. So I'm
Right.
happy that you have your family there and your kids and you got your support system. And because it gets hard out there by yourself trying to push
Amen.
a positive narrative, you're getting attacked by all over. And when you ask
Yeah.
for God, when you ask for God's blessing, the devil is listening too.
Listen, I always say the devil is alive and well, because there will be times you're just fighting,
Yeah,
fighting to survive,
yeah.
And so yeah, it's incredible, because I know not everybody has that, and we don't always look to remember the people that are with you before everything started, and not giving credit to the fact that without him, my spouse, there would be none of this, because it just wouldn't happen. And so he trusts me, and because there's times you get put in some really crazy situations, it may not always be safe. There may be people that don't have your best interest, and you just really have to have that discernment, and I'm just really glad God gave it to me.
I'm happy you have that discernment. And you have the story now here, motivators. Hopefully that you're feeling motivated, that you got your highlighters, your pens, and you just documented some stuff that she said so you can ask her. And I'm gonna allow you to drop your social medias and how we can find you and contact you. And if anybody wants to talk to you, this is what we do. We spotlight all the motivators because we want to make sure that people can have access to your information. So go ahead, shout
Yes,
out your
sir.
information.
So I happen to be a Friday Q&A nurse on the Nurses Report podcast on
Mm,
AmericaOutloud.news. I also have Instagram at hold_the line CLNC, and on Twitter it is Hennessy HENNAC 03.
You hear that? Everybody understands what she just did. And thank you for just popping in and talking to us and letting us know how you feel and everything like that. And, one more time, I want you to leave us with an inspiring quote.
Oh man, my favorite quote is Isaiah 6:8. And then the voice of the Lord said, "Whom shall I send, and whom shall go before us?" And I said, "Here am I, send me."
There we go. Here am I, send me. You guys heard it there, and I appreciate you. And this part of the show is where I pour into you. So go ahead and get you a fake cup and hold it up, a cup in your hand. Pour that cup out. Pour that cup out. And then I'm about to pour into you. Listen, don't stop. Keep going. And I'm proud of you. And we love you here at the Motivators Table. When you need anything, you tap in with us. You're changing people's lives. Don't ever think that you're not out there impacting anybody. Somebody is listening. And you got to be careful who you entertain. The Bible says you will entertain angels unawarely. So you are putting out that message and people are hitting you up and you inspiring. Continue to stay positive. Continue to keep your foot on their necks because we're watching. Everybody's watching. People are supporting you. You have a good support system with your husband and your kids and your family. And continue just message. Continue. Everything you planted years ago is coming to harvest this year. This is what harvest season is about. Right here. Coming on this platform, telling your ugly, telling your story, and having people recognize your glory. And we recognize that and we appreciate you so much. And this part right here, I want to tell people all the time. There's a story about the cow and the bull. Distinctively, the cow and the bull can recognize where there are storms coming in, and we're correlation that into human beings, right? So when a storm comes in, a cow and the bull can recognize it, and the cow will run from the storm. Humans will continue to run from their situation until they find information. And sometimes when they find that information, they will continue to run because it's too much for them or too much work. The bull will see the information and see the storm and turn around and go towards the eye of it and get on the other side of it and shake off the storm and say, you know what, I made it through. The bull don't make no excuses. You are the bull. The bull comes back also, brings the information to their family and their flock and say, hey, when another storm come, follow me. That's exactly what you're doing. You are definitely the bull, and we appreciate you for just taking the mantle and taking the bull by the horns and saying, on what's right, and I'm gonna continue to do what's right. And we love you for that. And don't ever think that you're alone. You got all the motivators over here to come help you out and put that gasoline in your tank and help you continue to keep going. I appreciate you. Thank you for allowing me to pour into you. Thank you for coming on my platform. And guess what? You just was just featured on a motivators table. It's going to be on Spotify. It's going to be on Apple. It's live on YouTube. Live on LinkedIn. You heard it here first. You heard it. Thank you, motivators, for tapping in. Thank you. This is season 4. We're working on season 5 in the next couple of episodes. I appreciate everybody for giving me my spark and giving me just notion to keep going. And we love you, Nurse Nicole. Thank you so much. You are loved, and we appreciate you. And we out. Boom.